Is the PAC able to regain their autonomous status? Let's take a look. Conference realignment is always in the news, so we're back here on The Big Mountain to keep you all updated. Hey, JY back with The Big Mountain. Want to do a PAC update for everybody. Have a few items here that we need to talk about. First, I had some commenters ask that we take a look at the Olympic sports for the PAC right now. I want to talk about that. Take a look at where these 8 schools are going to be at here in 2026. I want to talk about some new comments from Dr. Scott, the AD at Memphis. I also want to talk briefly about their media rights deals now that we're in the middle of March. And lastly, talk about this autonomous status that the PAC may be able to return to. So again, first, looking here at Olympic sports, I'm going to pull up a couple slides so you can take a look at where they currently sit with their 8 members, and also if they were to add both Texas State and St. Mary's College. Of course, the 2 that I will focus on here, one for men's and one for women's baseball. Very important to the PAC, especially the OSU Beavers. And right now, they need a little help. They could use a few more teams to make sure they have a solid conference. And then with the women's sports, they could use some help with softball. So I'll throw both of these up there. As you will see, both Texas State and St. Mary's have baseball and softball to really round out a very solid Olympic sport programming here for the PAC. I do want to point out that North Texas, which was one of the schools we've talked about several times here, I have them in the possible category going to the PAC. They do not sponsor baseball, so maybe an item that could potentially hold them back, because as I say, we know how strongly the PAC-12 right now feels about baseball, especially Oregon State. UTSA, Memphis, and Tulane all sponsor baseball, but you know that we believe Memphis and Tulane are unlikely to happen for the PAC. So that's why you see both Texas State and St. Mary's. As we've been reporting, we have been told they are locked in for PAC membership. Let's talk about now some information that AD Scott, Dr. Scott from Memphis, recently has said in an interview here just last week. He stated that they, the AD and the department there, the school, were only ever given one invitation from the PAC, and that he has only had one conversation with the PAC, and he said specifically with Commissioner Gould, since the press release when they came out and said they're sticking with the Americans. So he's saying they have only had one conversation shortly after that press release. Also said here that they have one home, and that one home is the American Athletic Conference. Some would say that the fact he named Commissioner Gould in this interview, potentially leaves wiggle room that maybe he had communication with others within the PAC, or maybe they've had communication with Octagon, who's dealing with the media rights here for the PAC-12. I think from what I gather from Dr. Scott, he's a very straight shooter. I don't think that's the case. I don't think he was parsing words. I think he was very direct in what I took him to say there. And so it does not appear, and I believe what he said. They have had no communication with the PAC or Commissioner Gould since that first go-around several months ago. As Steve and I have said, we've been following the ACC issues here very, very closely. We believe they are on the short list to be a backfill for potential losses with the ACC. I'm not going to get down deep into that. If you're interested in what we had to say with the ACC, we have some recent episodes we just did. But we do believe Memphis is very high up on the list as a target for the ACC. Another item Dr. Scott talked about here is that he said travel is a very significant issue, very real to them, not only from the cost standpoint, but from having students on a plane or a bus to get to the different member entities, and that's something they're very concerned about. Obviously, being a member of the PAC has different issues regarding that than they would have in either the American or the ACC. And he said, that is definitely at the top of our list, or close to the top of our list, and an item that we have to take very seriously. He also then pivoted and talked about the academics of Memphis, again, leading me to believe, he's kind of selling Memphis to the ACC schools that, hey, we're high. Not only are we high in the athletic side of things, we're high academically as well. Of course, you hear ADs say that a lot. Some of that is, bringing in student athletes that want that high academics as well. But, you could read that, and I did read this as a potential selling point to get them into the ACC here, maybe not in the too distant future. So before we get to some of this autonomous status, just want to bring up the media deal. It doesn't look like it's going to happen here within the next couple weeks. Some people had a deadline here of it happening right before March Madness. Still could. We have a few days before that kicks off. We've always talked about kind of that end of March timeframe. Still not hearing a ton from that. I don't think it's the end all be all. I think if we get to April 1st and we don't hear anything, I don't think that's a major issue. But I do think as we then get further into April, as time goes by, it probably doesn't set up great, in my opinion, for the Pac-12. So I'm not saying, if the clock ticks over and we're at April 1st, everybody should be, Pac fans should be, concerned about it. I don't think that's the case. But at the same time, I'm not sure we're going to hit kind of this mid-March or maybe even late March. We'll just have to wait and see. My guess is they're probably pretty close, and some of these things just take a little bit of time to iron out. Last thing I want to talk about is the Dellinger reporting on the House settlement here late last week. And it brought up a lot of buzz. I know I had a lot of information on X that I was putting out because the settlement that's being worked on right now, both Oregon State and Washington State's ADs are going to be a part of this compliance team for the settlement. Remember, the Pac-12 here is a defendant in the House lawsuit. The PAC only has 2 members as of today. Obviously, Oregon State and Washington State. It makes total sense for at least one of those ADs to be on this transition team since they are a defendant in the lawsuit. Here, of course, we have both of them being involved, which is great. I think that's good for them. I'm anxious to see what comes out of the settlement, what comes out of this transition team. But with that then came a lot of speculation. If because they're on this team, this transition team, does that mean they're going to be getting autonomous status back? As of right now, no, that is not what this means at all. To me, I think anybody saying that is really pushing a narrative. I think they're being very speculative on that. That is not at all what this means. Could they in the future? Anything's possible. But to make a bridge between this, in my opinion, from this compliance team to, they're going to get their autonomous status back, it's just a bridge too far for me at this point. I think we have to wait and see what the new governance looks like. Yes, could they be involved in some of that? Absolutely. But I don't see the SEC or the Big Ten giving up any of the control that they have been able to gain thus far, and not just not give it up. They want to keep getting more control. So it would be a step back, in my opinion, for the Power 2 conferences to do that. Again, we'll have to just wait and see. I did just want to put it out there. I think anything you're hearing about this regarding an autonomous status, regaining autonomous status, I think it's just pure speculation, and I don't think it's fair to get anybody's hopes up. Again, it's not me being a negative Nancy on the PAC. I think it's unfortunately people are using that and getting hopes up that I just don't think that will be the case. You can disagree with me. I know people do disagree with me, and that's totally fine. Hey, Steve is going to be back with me. We're going to do an NCAA tournament preview. We'll talk about the Big Ten and the Mountain West schools that are going to be in the tournament, and we have a lot of other stuff planned for you guys this week. And we have the athletic director of UC Davis joining us early next week. So we'll get that posted to our channel as well. Of course, we're going to talk about UC Davis athletics and where their football program may be at in the coming years as well. So, hey, we thank you guys for watching this update. As all of our PAC fans know, all of our PAC dwellers know, we stay on everything PAC-12. We appreciate you watching. Make sure you give this one a like. Subscribe if you like our content. We'll see you next time on the Big Mountain.